All right, everyone. I speak as a libertarian, or I don't know, classical liberal, I suppose, when I say this. I actually support this bill. Congress actually doing something that makes sense for a change. Link in the description, archived of course. Congress just passing a bill that would force the U.S. government to only purchase flags, U.S. flags, that are made actually in the USA, so completely manufactured in the USA. I support this. Here's why. If you want to buy a Chinese-made U.S. flag, you should be completely at leisure to do so. You're a private citizen. If it is a tax-funded entity, that is that my money is going towards it, your money is going towards it, everyone else's money is going towards it, it should be made in the USA. In fact, I would extend this to all things that the government consumes. They should never be able to import literally anything. Public figures shouldn't be able to import their Russian vodka and their Cuban cigars, in my opinion. They are public servants. They are funded directly by the taxpayers in the country. And so any money that they spend, whether it's for their own private purchases, by the way, as a public official, or whether it's taxpayer money in general, because they draw a tax-funded salary, they don't make anything of themselves. They don't produce anything. They only squander people's money. It should be made in the USA. And this, by the way, considering the number of military contracts and shit like that, considering all the things that the government has to purchase on a yearly basis, would be a pretty substantial amount of money. I'm assuming it would be in the tens of billions range that would be repatriated from the country into itself as a result of this towards private business. Well, that's great. You contract with a factory. You're like, well, we need to replace all the flags. There's about 10 million of them, though, so it cost a little bit of money. Okay, so they made $100 million in pure profit. And then they're going to tax them on it anyway. By the way, maybe we should have a tax exemption for such contracts as well, for businesses that are being contracted towards. For anything related to civic purposes, like flags, a podium, or something like that. Not necessarily for anything else, because otherwise the government will literally buy off corporations, and one hand washes the other, and it's a big problem. Now, we've got problems with the government squandering our money. If they're going to squander it, though, at least squander it back into the U.S. economy, instead of squandering it to fucking China. I was surprised to learn that the U.S. government was actually, and state governments, were actually purchasing U.S. flags that weren't made in the United States. It's literally a symbol of the country. Now, I know it's literally just a piece of cloth in the physical form, but it has a greater symbolic civic purpose. Shouldn't it be made by people that are actually employed within the continental United States itself? Wouldn't that make sense? God, Congress actually had a good idea. I mean, hell is just frozen over. We'll see whether it gets signed by Creepy Joe. So it's made its way through Congress. It had some bipartisan support, actually. It's a good idea. Again, if you keep the wealth in your own country as opposed to sending it abroad, I don't want my tax money going to China. That's basically what would happen. Some state says, well, we need 10,000 U.S. flags. Well, this company over in Shanghai is, half the price of the one here in our own state, and so we'll contract with them and replace our flags. I was unaware that this was going on. I was under the belief that it was already a rule that you would only have them manufactured from U.S.-based materials in the United States itself by U.S. taxpayers who are literally paying money to buy flags from a competing company in China. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it? Economically speaking. But then again, you've got to understand, the people running our government tend to be on the stupid side. Most of them don't make a lot of sense. You just look at Kamala Harris if you want probably the most prime example of this. Or Anthony Blinken. Or hell, even sometimes Donald Trump when he sloganeers. To his credit, he's much more coherent than Kamala Harris, but even he says off-the-wall shit sometimes that doesn't entirely add up. And it's the way of politicians. You name a politician and I'll show you a foible. I'll show you a gaffe. There are none of them, if they've been in there for more than a year, there's none of them that are gaffe-free, scandal-free, etc. But this is a no-brainer. It's something that I think that the average person can probably get behind. Rare example of a bipartisanly supported bill that actually makes sense and actually does something positive. So this is definitely a white pill video. Even Congress, shitty as they are, dysfunctional as they are, we're capable of creating and putting through this bill. So I find a little bit of joy in that. It's like, oh, well, yeah, there might be broken clock mode. Most of the time's wrong, but occasionally it's correct. But that doesn't really matter. Yeah, we'll applaud them when they do something that's sensible, in hopes that they'll do more sensible things. We might have to wait a while for that, though, unfortunately. That's about all. Peace out.